And we have Scott Anderson from Finger 11 here with us today, talking about the upcoming new record and the new single Adrenaline. So, what can you tell us about the new single and the new record?
Well, the new single is I'm excited about it only because it there was a promise of like, oh, okay, this song has a lot of energy, but for the song to cross the finish line, like to complete it and keep that energy up and not lose what's special about, whatever demo you were working on. That's what I like most about it. And to me, it's just got this sort of, we went across the US with Creed last year, and a song like that, you kind of feel like, okay, it can hang in like a giant venue, like Finger 11 very often tries to like make big music. and so it kind of passed the litmus test there, and it's got this nice kind of hype song quality about it, and I really enjoy it. And the new album is going to have quite a few of those. There's a lot of rockers on the new record. There's a few kind of songs in between, and then there's a mellow tune, but like they're all of like really crazy quality, which I'm so excited to let everybody finally hear. And they will be able to hear it very soon, sometime this year.
What was this is the first new music from you guys in like 10 years. So what could you attribute that extended break to, and did it change the writing process at all?
One of the greatest things that kind of time can give you is some objectivity. You can take a look at a song and go, oh, okay, that's really good, but you know what? It needs work. This part is not working, and the scary process of opening up an idea and hoping that it gets better through that. I mean, you got to do it. And, if you work on a new song and it loses its luster, of like the newness, then you come back to it and go like, okay, I see exactly what this is. Let's figure out how to make it better. And we've been doing that. We haven't necessarily taken a break as a band through those 10 years. It's just that every single one of us has a family now, and there's all kinds of stuff that has taken priority. But we've been making music, believe it or not, like all the way through this, so when it came time to say, okay, it's time to put a record out, it's a very democratic process. We all sat down and said, okay, where's this, let's look at this list of songs and what are our favorites, and what should we work on, and then let's just go one by one. And we're finally almost done.
Oh wow. So did the industry politics and like shifting from labels, Wind Up, Concord to Better Noise, did that play a factor as well?
I suppose it's when you're with a label, and then depending on the size of the label, you've got more resources, but then you have more people sort of keeping tabs on what you're doing. So it's a double-edged sword. The nice thing is we've just been, we've been our own sort of producers, A&R guys, throughout most of this process. And now it's, I think we're about to give the label a really, really strong piece of ammunition, sonically, so to speak. And so I'm proud, and I hope the label, sometimes you'll deliver a record and you might not get the support that you're looking for, or things. There's a million reasons why a song hits or it doesn't hit. But I've got a really great feeling about our team now, and it's so strange to say at this point in my career. It's like, oh, okay, this is a very, very strong record. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. Just because you go, okay, these guys have been around for a minute, and you can tell that we still care a lot. And it doesn't matter what I say. You just got to listen to the record and go like, oh, okay, I get it. It's not just a slapdash pile of songs. We're still pretending like we're 17 and this is the most important thing in the world.
That's cool though. That you have that youthful enthusiasm, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's great. You know, we're all just the same dudes. I mean, my brother's in the band, and I've known James since I was, I think, 13 years old. And then I met Rick in high school, so I was 15. And so we are like, it definitely, I mean, mentally at least, it keeps us young.
Is it for you? Like, not a lot of people focus on this, but the core group of Finger 11 is you've been together since the Rainbow Butt Monkeys days. Like, and like, what do you attribute to staying together for that lengthy period of time? Because bands this day and age change members like crazy.
Well, you know, ever since the beginning, you know, we decided to be the Rainbow Butt Monkeys, and why we changed, I'll never know. But we did. I mean, we recognized some sort of you know, sonic change or where we wanted to go, but you know, that's a boring story. But it was mostly, you know, out of passion. Like, we weren't trying to get. There was no other reason to do it except for, oh yeah, we all love music. Let's see if we can do this together, you know. So we started as a cover band, and then would sort of crowbar an original here or there, you know, when we would play live. But that same spirit, you know, it just happened on, you know, when Finger 11 became a thing, and I think on our third record, we actually finally had a hit. And yeah, the amount of resources around us kind of changed, and we became a bigger thing. And we were able to, you know, actually make a living at this. But that wasn't the initial plan. The plan was, yeah, we're just going to be in a band until somebody tells us to stop, right? You know, so it's wonderful to say now that yeah, it's our career, and how, you know, yes, we've been doing it for the right reasons, and there's like just passion all the way around. It's still there, but there's, you know, a crazy amount of luck that goes into it too. But as long as you stay, you know, if you stay together and you argue well, and you can get through those conflicts, I suppose that's the key. And we're just doing that better than ever. There's always conflicts. It's just maybe not as heated as a bunch of like 20-year-old dudes, you know, where everybody just sort of picks and chooses their battles a little, a little less frequently now.
You mentioned becoming a new father. How does that change the band dynamics?
Oh, it doesn't change much except for every single aspect on the planet. Yeah. That's it changes absolutely. It changes everything. But I was the last one to have a kid. So while they were going through like the baby stage and then the toddler stage, I was barely listening, and I regret that decision, because I mean, everybody's got their own journey, but boy, I wish I would have picked up a little bit of advice. But it's great, you know, because I used to say like, hey, yeah, come on, let's go out, and it's like, well, no, you know, like I gotta put the kid to bed, and it's like, okay, we'll put him to bed and let's go. Like, it's like, dude, it's just, there's so much to do, like before and after and during, and it's like, you know, so I finally understand. I feel like I owe every single guy in the band a big apology, but yeah, I'm finally there. So, you know, it's those things, and you know, when those massive moments in life happens, you know, yeah, absolutely everything changes, and other things become a priority. But I'm happy to say that the band survived through all that, you know, all these big family changes. It's great.
You had said that you had merged from the pandemic in like a positive headspace, and that sort of translated over into how you write. Can you talk a little bit about that and elaborate a little bit about that?
Well, you know, there's an aggression to some of Finger 11's music. I mean, even just if the band gives me a piece of music to work on, you know, and it's got like really cool guitars and this killer riff, and I don't know, you know, a lot of times the music will give me a hint, at least, like where it wants me to take it. And I got to listen to that. And that's what makes a cool song. At least it gives you like some bedrock to it. And I try not to get in the way. I know that's a little bit of a weird answer, but it's kind of true. But the only active choice I've been trying to make is just not be so negative, you know, like it's it's just you gotta make, I have to make an active effort. And there's a lot to be so positive about. And so, you know, when a song like Adrenaline, it's like, okay, this is a heavy, you know, this song is like a sonic sledgehammer, but you know, I don't want to just be negative for this. You know, I feel I don't have that angst in me anymore, but I love aggressive music. So where can I go? How do I feel? How can I put some sort of positive spin on this? And so for the most part on the new record, for the most part, it's a mostly positive outlook that I'm putting forward.
Does it sort of weigh on you as a frontman, knowing that you have a global fan base and that like some of the music has helped people through dark times?
I mean, the idea that I'm helping anyone is probably the best compliment that I could receive. I know exactly how that feels when, you know, at an early age, I understood, you know, only a handful of things about myself. And one of them was that music was the most important thing. You know, it was hitting me and it was all mine. You know, I had friends that liked music, but they didn't like the same music that I did. I had a really narrow lane of like every Genesis record and every Iron Maiden record. And that was it. So
that's about a 180 for each other, right?
Well, yes, except for when you listen to, see, here I go. But when you listen to early Genesis and all the progressive elements to it, like Iron Maiden definitely has that, you know, they like long form, interesting, like crazy riffs. And like, they both have really, they both don't ignore melody. That's what the greatest thing about, oh man, we can't talk. We're going to be here for hours, but there is a disparity. I remember writing Genesis and Iron Maiden on my, I was in grade 6 or 7. I was writing Genesis on my binder. Then I wrote Iron Maiden, and my teacher at the time said, "You can't put those bands together. That's disgusting." I was like, that's like, I remember not knowing what to say. I still don't know what to say. I was like, it's weird. I don't know what you think you know about either band, but I bought a vinyl picture disc. It was an interview with Steve Harris. This is years later after that incident. And the interviewer was asking about like, you know, like what was Iron Maiden's early influences? And he talked about how he would listen to early Genesis records. And I was like, you see, I was right, teacher.
That creative connective tissue, right?
I know. Yeah, that's great.
The one thing I saw at Iron Maiden like last year, the year before, but the one thing that I really respected about them is they come out with a new record, they're going to play that new record and give it its own life. Like this new sort of model of the music industry is like singles based. We're moving away from records and actually letting things breathe. Like some of the best records that I listened to and loved the most were records that I initially didn't like out of the gate.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, records are important to us, and even, you know, because it's how we would spend our weekends going to the record store with like whatever we had, $25, and then you're like, hey, I can afford one CD. It better be good. It better be a good one. But that experience can be a profound one, and it was for us. You getting home from the record store, but I remember going to see a guy named Richard Buckner, and I thought it was an okay show. It was neat. It was acoustic, but it was the loudest acoustic show I'd ever heard. It was painful to you know, just like physically. And I was like, oh, that's cool. He's like, did you buy his record at the merch booth? And I was like, no, that's okay. And he said, listen, I'm gonna buy it, and just give it a chance. You know, I was like, all right. And it's exactly that experience where I was like, okay, this is good. And now like it's the record called Since, and it's still one of the greatest. Like it's sort of a indie kind of country, just an incredible record full of beautiful songs and cryptic lyrics that I've been in love with. But I felt like, oh, this almost got away. I almost didn't experience this whole thing, you know. But front to back, man, like, you know, it's when those albums hit and then you feel like you can't be away from them, or it's it's less, it happens less now, but it still happens. And so I love when it does.
So how do you approach things from like a creative standpoint when like you're up against Spotify, skip rates, all those things? Or is that just not, that you have to throw that out the window, I guess?
Yeah, the only way we compete, or the only way we try to stay relevant with whatever happens to be changing, is to just try to put out a bunch of music that we love. That's like that. I'm telling you, like that sort of corny mission statement. It's just true. We try to make the greatest, whatever, 3-4 minute song that we can. And then that's, if people come around to it, like either now or later, then we win, you know, but that's all you can really do. But we don't go like, oh, you know, I've been in the room with producers, and you know, you'll be in a studio, and they'll listen to your demos, and then they'll get like, okay, well, what's on the Billboard charts right now? And then you know, your heart just sinks, because it's like, well, we're not going to do that. We're not that band that's going to try to like chase that noise or chase that particular sound. Now more than ever. So it's a pretty rigid. I don't mean to be too standoffish, but it's like we're just gonna try to put out the best thing that we can, and hope that, you know, music saves us eventually.
So talking about like your success and like the songs that have been hits for you, like was there ever any indication that those tracks would be as big as they were?
I will say I felt pretty confident about Paralyzer. We were stuck, you know, we I don't think we had a record release date when, you know, when we came up with that song, and the label was wondering what the single would be. And I was, you know, I'm not a very good like manager. I am, you know, like what you see is what you get, like kind of a simple singer. But I was like, no, that's as much as a hit as we could possibly deliver. Like that's the, if you want to go with a single, that should be it, you know. When it comes to One Thing, that was a result of like a writing trip that James and I took. We had a pile of songs that we were trying to finish, and one of those songs was One Thing. Actually, One Thing didn't exist. We were like, oh, okay. Among all these things, James came up with this riff, and we're like, oh, that's a nifty tune. That's pretty good. We should, when we're done this retreat, we should let the band hear that song. But the big song that we finished on that retreat was a song called Stay in Shadow. And I thought that was going to be, you know, I mean, I knew it was pretty heavy. I was like, that's good. So we got back from the trip, and we're like, listen to the Stay in Shadow. And they're like, yeah, that's good. And then we played them One Thing, and everybody I played it to, they liked Stay in Shadow, but they just wanted to hear the song. They wanted to hear One Thing again. And that's when you know you have something, like somebody outside of your band, you know, if you force them to listen to your stuff and they say, hey, do you mind if I hear that again? You know, that's when you know you might have something special.
That replayability.
Yeah.
Talk about for a second, you've had some amazing opportunities as well, like sort of outside of music, the Guitar Hero, you know, WWE using, you know, a Slow Chemical as a insurance song, movie placements. Was there any of those that you could feel like it was a shift in momentum for you guys?
I think being a part of the WWE universe, I didn't realize it at the time, but how much that song and how much that resonated with people, and that was nice. You know, there was it's neat to sort of reach people that aren't necessarily they were wrestling fans first, and you know, they discover you through that. That's neat, because I mean, I remember back then we're very precious about like who we work with. It's like we just want to keep it as pure as possible. Like, look, here's a CD, you know, and if this show wants to use it or that, you know, like we would have to sit down and have these big band meetings and talk about like, okay, has anybody seen the show Scrubs? Is it good? Like, what do we do? Because we were on the road from, you know, just constantly. So we actually hadn't seen the script. We didn't know how good it was. But that was another one where like, okay, I think it's going to be okay if we sort of like lend the, you know, if those two things can be together. But I'm also proud as like a big gamer. I love the idea that I got to sort of, you know, be part of like SSX, and I think there's a couple other. I think there's the Guitar Hero, that was big. You know, I wish we were on a Guitar Hero. I wish you could download all our records on Guitar Hero. It's a little late now, but yeah, that was nice. You know, I actually got to sit down and like talk to some programmer who did. I was like, so how do you guys do this? Like SSX, not SSX. Forgive me, that's EA, but 1080. Nintendo's is 1080 snowboarding, and he was the guy was telling me how they, you know, how tricks translate into the control. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, it was just the nerdiest moment in the world, but I really enjoyed it to get that close to like, you know, another industry and like and kind of be working together. That was kind of that was a nice moment.
Did you play your own song in Rock Band?
I think I have played it, and like I sang it pretty well, you know. It seems like I need a little more work. I know James tried to do a perfect run on Paralyzer and got pretty close, but it took a while.
You guys just came off the road summer of '99 tour with Creed. What was that like? Was it sort of a nostalgic run being out there back with them?
It was nice to see the Creed guys again, and it's almost as if, you know, 20 years hadn't gone past. It was what impressed me the most was their fans were so gracious and so nice to us. I mean, we were not interested in wasting their time. You know, we had half an hour and we were going to try to, like, you know, please them as much as we could, like give them songs that they might be familiar with, you know, while you know, playing the new song. But the problem is when you play with when you open for a giant band, their fans might just show up a little bit late, you know, and that wasn't the case. I'm like, it was so special to have people show up early and enjoy what we were doing. I just didn't take it for granted, and it was so nice. The vibe around that entire run was just happy people enjoying happy music, people bringing their kids, right? Like that's where Creed is now, and that's kind of where we're at too. But it's kind of neat to see that generational leap where it's like, oh, okay, they can enjoy this thing. And, you know, especially with a band like Creed, if you're not sure, you know, the live show can, you know, get you there. The live show can sort of, they could be like, all right, yeah, then this is for me. You know, it's incredibly impactful. And they were, you know, there's bands that have been around and like you kind of can tell that like they're not really into it, or, you know, they're having an off day. They were just, they were firing on all cylinders. Like they sound better than they ever have. So it was a lot of fun, and I was really, really lucky and proud to have been part of that.
Does it change do you guys approach it differently being on those big arena shows as an opener?
We don't, we almost pretend like, you know, it's just more like, okay, we gotta get started, and we have to, kind of, you know, there's no time to be, you can be bad or great, but there's no time to be both. You know, you only have half an hour, so you better just sort of hit it as hard as you can. So no, the game plan didn't change, but it was just mostly fun. You know, you're playing for a half an hour, and our job is to just warm everybody up. And, you know, if they don't know the band that does one thing in Paralyzer, you know, they know afterwards. So there you go.
You must have to bring your A game though, because Creed like are a great live band, and then you have Mammoth there.
Right. Well, you had Mammoth for half of it, and then Three Doors Down. So like there are massive heavy hitters, you know, like there's huge songs left and right. So yeah, you gotta sort of trick yourself that you belong on that stage and do the best you can.
Well, to wrap things up then, what can fans expect from the new record? We haven't heard it yet, but you talked a little bit about it. Sonically, where does it fit into the Finger 11 category?
Well, I think old school fans are going to be happy. There's you know, there are a few songs where one song in particular that, you know, didn't make an album, you know, years ago, and we rediscovered it and sort of opened it up and and made it, you know, better without ruining what was special about it. And so I think that's going to really resonate for old school fans. There's literally, like, you know, some musical DNA from a while back. You know, like I said, you know, the time, the objectivity of time, you know, you look at all these demos and you say, okay, yeah, all right, there is something really cool there. Let's see if we can make it, you know, let's see if it can stand up to the rest of these tracks. So it's going to be a hard hitting record with a few other emotional beats in it. And I think fans are going to be happy.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait. And thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Sure. My pleasure.
Hey, thank you.